Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Eurowatch, world's #1 Euro 2020 podcast. Yes, we're still keeping that tag. Me and Ritwik are here. We've just finished watching the Netherlands, the Czech Republic. Ritwik, what were your thoughts on that?
It was a very bad first half, very great second half. Everything changed on that Matthias de Ligt red card early into the second half, but
What?
you know,
Who?
Matthias de Ligt.
No, we're not. No, but Matthias de Ligt. Who's Matthias?
It's Matthias de Ligt.
No, it's Matthias.
Matthias de Ligt.
You like the commentator in a sec when what's his name? Stephen Berghuis came on. They on ITV. Do you know what they called him?
What?
Stephen Birdhouse. I'm not even exaggerating. It was genuinely like Stephen Birdhouse.
So it's Matthias de Ligt. All right.
Yeah.
So Matthias de Ligt's red card changed the game, but the teams that really want to win in this tournament are the ones that can take a crack and make it a chasm. And the Czech Republic did just that, and the Netherlands didn't have an answer.
I've liked the theme so far, which it was against Italy, Austria as well. Is a big team and the favourites and a little team. They're not sitting back and soaking up. They're actually just digging in and being, like, in a good way, they're being pricks. Like, Austria was so bitey against Italy, and I loved it. And the same with Czech Republic today. It was brilliant vibes. It's making brilliant football. But there might be a bitey game on Tuesday, which is what me and Ritwik are covering. We are going to be looking at England v Germany, and I'm going to be giving the England lineup, and Ritwik's going to be giving the German lineup, what we would predict and think it should be. I've also got a little German lineup noted down for myself that I think would be the best way to counteract England. But yeah,
as I have with Alex, I've got the England lineup as well.
Lovely. Well, do you want to go off in goal first?
Well, in goal, Germany is probably the most obvious player of this entire tournament. It's Manuel Neuer, the captain. I don't see anybody else really taking his spot. He's been okay this tournament. Nothing really special. He's been complaining a little less after the goals have gone in. You know, classic Neuer shithousing, shouting at the linesman, shouting at his teammates. The fault is everybody's but his own. In goal, Manuel Neuer.
In goal,
what about you,
Jordan
Alex?
and Pickford. He's actually been quite decent in this tournament, especially from out of the bag.
One of England's best players,
I
would say.
Particularly amazing, but he's been good, and it's been warming to see him play well. What formation are you playing? I'm gonna guess it's the 5-3-2. Well, 5-3. What you know what I'm trying to say? 3-4-3.
Yeah, it's a 3-4-3. And I think it's going to be a pretty solid 3-4-3, and I'll come into why and when it might change a little later. But in defense, for lack of other options, I'm going with the same defense. I'm going with Matthias, and I know this one's Matthias Ginter, Mats Hummels, and Antonio Rudiger.
Like in the back three, yeah.
Yeah, just
I went for who did I go for? I'm for Hummels, Rudiger, and Süle.
Süle, ooh, interesting. I'll give you a little reasoning as to why I've chosen them. The thing is with Süle, it's very hot and cold. He has a bit of Phil Jones in him, both in terms of the way he looks and sometimes the way he performs. It's a bit too many mistakes. Ginter seems a little overwhelmed by the occasion of playing in a tournament. Rudiger has a mistake in him, but generally looks fast. And Hummels is, well, when you toss a player out from the cold alongside centre backs he's rarely played with, it's either going to be amazing or it's not going to be great. And it's the latter we're seeing right now, because he hasn't played a single qualification game with these people, and he's been chucked in, say, well, lead the defense because I've got no one else.
I'll talk you why I've got Süle in a second, but my back three would be Walker, Maguire and Stones. And I'm very keen on having Walker or Reece James in the back three, because Yes.
Oh, you're going
I'm
in back
going to
three.
Because
Interesting. Interesting.
But my logic in this it's actually a big reason why I think England will beat Germany. I think Southgate's back three, may it be boring, it is incredibly well organised and everyone knows exactly what they're doing. Whereas Germany's back three is a hastily prepared formation in a similar way to Frank de Boer in the Netherlands, where there isn't actually any real shape or organisation. It's just it's just Kroos and Gundogan to key play here. Kimmich, you're going to be a wing back. Same with Gersons. And it's the reason Germany have done moderately well is because they've been protected by the number of players they've got. It's not actually any real patterns of player coaching, which is what we saw against Hungary. So my logic for England is they're very well organised in the back three. If they match Germany with it, they should be able to outwit them. If when it's basically similar game plans.
And I think
they're going to be...
Yeah, and I think most importantly with your back three is that this is a back three that's played a tournament together. It counts for a lot. As the viewers might remember, during the last World Cup, I believe it was 2 years ago, Alex? 3 years ago, if memory serves me right?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. How the time has passed. These guys, these three were in the back three. And they marshaled a pretty good defense. The defense of England was largely faultless. It's problems elsewhere in the pitch which really led to the downfall.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm keen to have Walker or Reece James in the back because Germany will start either Gnabry or Sane, and you probably will have one of them in there who will offer quite a bit of pace. And rather than my team dropping deep, I want a quick centre back in there to cover for it, so England can still push up a bit high.
Yeah.
Who are your wing backs?
As much as he doesn't like it, and as much as I don't like him there, Joshua Kimmich is going to be at the right wing back position. Kimmich has talked to the German media and the Euro media, saying that he likes playing more in the center. I would say in last year's treble-winning season, Kimmich was arguably the single best midfielder in all of Europe, and seeing him play at his more amateur right back role it's a little sad, but he does a job well. Löw didn't take any other right backs. And that's the position he has to fill. And obviously on this other side, I've gone for Robin Gosens. He's played well in the tournament so far. He was very iffy against Hungary, if I'm being honest. But his drive and his certainty with which he commands that flank will provide an n number of problems for both whoever's playing right midfield for England or whoever's playing right back or right centre back. They're gonna have their hands full with Robin Gosens. And those are the wing backs I've chosen, Alex. Which flankman have you gone for?
I've gone for Kieran Trippier and Luke Shaw.
Yeah, sensible, very sensible.
Yeah, I've given Trippier a lot of stick, but I want him in there because I think Thomas Muller's going to play this game, and in my Germany lineup he would play as well. And Muller's main strength is finding space within a defence, so I want Trippier in there to I'm going for a lot of experience, basically. I want to make sure my back line is not going to give up any space. It's going to be well organised. And I actually do want experience in Trippier. And Shaw, I think, has actually been pretty good in this tournament so far. So there's no complaints with him starting. I'm with your wing backs. My ones, I had Gersons, but I would actually start Ginter at right wing back.
Oh, and the back. Okay, so with Sula in the back three and Ginter as right wing back. Now, yes, I will agree with this, but I think I mentioned this in a prior pod. Matthias Ginter has not played right back or right wing back consistently since his second season first season at Dortmund. He's been pretty much a central defender or a centre back in the back three for Mönchengladbach. Whereas Kimmich has
precisely.
I'm sorry?
That's why I want him. Precisely. That's why I want him there.
It's been a while since he's played that, though.
No, I want him to be a right back, but not a right wing back. I want him to be boring and be almost like a full centre back. Classic low tactics.
And be the foil to Gosens.
Yeah, I saw Germany against Hungary, and they were giving so much space in wide areas. Low failed to recognise it. So I would rather start Ginter and not push up high. And that way you can be more protected in wide areas.
So it's like it's almost like a lopsided back four. in the
Yes.
and a lopsided midfield four. One working more towards
Yes.
the right, one working more towards the left. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting if Southgate can recognize that as well as we have on paper. But in practice, it's a little different. And
I think Southgate will, because Hungary did it for 90 minutes. Southgate have given a lot of stick, but I think the issue of Southgate is his selection. I actually think his opposition study is very good.
yeah.
So I'll give him that. What about your? Should we move into the central midfield duo?
Yes.
I'm guessing.
Now this is where it gets a little where I'll probably ruffle a few feathers. I've actually gone for Leon Goretzka and Toni Kroos. Now I'll explain everything very calmly. Goretzka and Kroos are two pretty different central midfielders. Goretzka's a bit more of a box to box, and you saw against Hungary what he can do best is make those parallel runs with a winger. Come into the box when needed, and he has a very good shot on him. Now the way I see things happening is that I see if the midfield needs more help, Ginter will go to a pseudo right back position. Gosens will go to a left back. Kimmich will come into the central midfield, and Goretzka and Kroos will be in front of him. This is what I feel that Germany will be in possession, but on the counter, it'll shift to more of a 3-4-3. But in possession, when you have that, you have Goretzka and Kimmich who know each other and play well together. That chemistry, I believe, is very important. And Kroos is a very good long-range and short-range passer. It hasn't worked out too well because I feel like Gundogan and Kroos have just cancelled themselves out a little bit. Kroos can still provide the tempo. And the most important thing is that if this match goes on really long and there are a lot of people running to try and get the ball into the goal, save Germany's down and they need a goal, they can then bring on Gundogan, who you can trust to be ice cold in a heated situation and pass it just like Kroos does. So I'm taking Gundogan and Kroos as two sides of the same coin, but not playing them both together because I believe Goretzka has a little bit more box-to-box mobility and strength, and Kroos, it's almost like a silk and steel kind of midfield.
Yeah, I like the logic to Gundogan coming off the bench. It's almost similar to what I've got. I would go starting Declan Rice and Jordan Henderson.
Oh, big call.
Now the risk is obviously that Henderson has only played 45 minutes worth of football this tournament. So I think he could only maximum play like 60 to 70 minutes, but I would take that. I would start Henderson, and so he can play progressive balls and be a little more. I know Phillips has been good attacking wise, but I think Henderson does that to a better standard than Phillips and is more used to. His passing range is better. So I would start Henderson, and ideally my game plan would be that England are either winning or drawing, and if for the final few minutes I'd bring on Phillips for Henderson and close the game out. And with Rice, I think he picks himself. We've had West Ham Online come on the podcast before and tell about how incremental he is to this team, and yeah, Rice has been brilliant. So it might not pay off because Henderson hasn't played the football, but it's what I would do.
It's interesting you bring that point up because I'm casting my mind back a little bit to the World Cup where Henderson sat behind I believe it was Jesse Lingard and Dele Alli. It was a 3-1-4-2 that Southgate was playing rather than a 3-4-3, which I feel are very different positions. Now, if we were playing that back three like you suggested, I would actually go Phillips over Rice, and I'll tell you why. It's because during the the qualifying games and the friendlies, Rice is very good. He kept the ball moving, he kept it kept the heart beating when it needed to beat. But this is a knockout game. There is no time for sideways passing and conservative estimates. And I believe that if you have a midfield of Calvin Phillips and Jordan Henderson together, that could be a lot better because Henderson still has the defensive tact to come back if needed. Say Rice gets the ball, charges up a bit to try, cover a bit more ground before launching.
I don't think Rice will do that though. I think Phillips has been the one advancing more. Rice is my guy to sit deep. He's the one to not move.
But Phillips, I feel, is a much better screen against physicality. You saw against Croatia how he pretty much on his own manhandled Mateo Kovacic, Brozovic, and even at parts Luka Modric. And that defensive solidity and that strength is going to be imperative if you're playing Jordan Henderson, who really can't afford to get hit in this game. If you want a defensive screen, I think Phillips is a bit more Phillips is a bit more rough around the edges and will provide that, whereas Rice will try and pass it out if he can.
Yeah, I'm happy for Rice to play sideways passes. I think if you've got Henderson and he can do the advanced stuff, I'd like Rice to keep the ball.
Fair enough.
Sit deep. With your midfield, I like your reasoning, but in my little way, if Ginter right wing back, I'd start Kimmich in midfield just to get his natural position.
Exactly.
But I don't think Lowe will be doing anything that bold. If he does, fair enough. Let's go to before you tell me your striker, because I think that's a bit more. Wait,
who have you got alongside Kimmich? Because you've said.
I would have had Goretzka.
You would have had Goretzka. Okay, so no Kroos or no Gundogan starting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big call. That's a big call. I like it. I definitely like it. It's a big call.
Let's go into your. Don't tell me your striker. Tell me your supporting forwards. Unless you've gone for 2 up front.
So it's a 3, and this is a make it or break it moment. I've gone for Serge Gnabry on the right wing. I've gone for Timo. I've got for Timo Werner on the left wing.
Ooh, okay. I also have Gnabry on the right. What's your reasoning for Werner?
Okay, so I've got Werner playing on the left because I've got Kai Havertz up front, and I don't have Thomas Muller. And I'll tell you why. As good as Thomas Muller is as a vocal presence, I know Kimmich has also called him like the third coach because of how vocal he is. And you can see on the pitch, him directing players left and right. That is fine. But I feel that in this high-pressure knockout stage, if you're not physically delivering where it needs to be, like I get that, he can run and make the spaces and he can run into the spaces, but that's not how Germany play anymore. Germany's style is a bit more direct. That's what works for them. Balls to their feet and like stronger shots and, coming off deflections. I have Kai Havertz because he played a good game against Hungary when, push came to shove and he got the goal. And by putting Werner on the wing, you sort of take the goal-scoring pressure a little bit off him and let him do what he does best, which is pull defenders ragged. And I know that if they're playing in a back 3, both John Stones and or Kyle Walker or whoever's playing right back will get stretched by Werner. And once they get stretched by Werner, that leaves space for people like Kai Havertz to come in, and make a nuisance in front of Pickford. It leaves space for Gnabry to cut in, and it also crucially leaves space for Goretzka to come in from midfield like he did against Hungary. So I feel like Werner stretching the play as a winger works really well, and him and Kai Havertz have a much more burgeoning understanding. I feel like they've been getting that momentum together a little bit as of late. So I've gone for a Gnabry, Kai, and Werner. Yes, it lacks experience. Yes, neither one of them has actually played a major tournament as a regular starter, but they need to chuck the kitchen sink at it because this is going to be a tough game. They're coming up against the joint best defense in the Euro group stages, and cut and paste it all the way you want to. England have been solid at the back, and it's going to take a lot to beat them. And I feel like you need ingenuity and unpredictableness ahead of wiser shoulders like Muller.
I'll get into what my front 3 would have been. For Germany, my moment though is so I would have Mount and Sterling, but I want to caveat that with the only reason Sancho's not in there is because he's played 6 minutes of football. I think it's criminal he's been given such little game time under Southgate. I think what I want to know is it's not necessarily criminal. It's criminal in relation to the excuses Southgate's given, which has been he's too young, but you've started
Saka.
Like Bukayo Saka. He's not got enough tournament experience, but you started Phil Foden. I don't know. Sancho should have got minutes, but he's not. He hasn't had them, so it has to be Sterling in there, who scored England's only 2 goals, and Mount, because in a 3-4-3 for Chelsea, Mount would start in the front 3 and he'd overwhelm the midfield, which I think could be very.
Is he cleared to play? Because I remember I was going to raise this point when you talked about Luke Shaw, because Ben Chilwell has played left wing back for England. Are both of them cleared to play?
I'm not too sure. I think he is.
Okay.
I think Mount is.
Interesting.
But it's because I think it's negative tests. But as it stands, Mount. If Mount can't play, I'd probably go Rashford, and just try and because Germany's backline's quite slow.
So you have Raheem Sterling on the right wing.
Yes, I've Sterling on the right.
That's an interesting call. I think out of all your attacking calls, that's the most interesting.
Is it? He's the only one who scored.
Yeah, but playing on the right, he scored most of his games starting from the center and or the left.
Well, my logic is he'll like move in and out really, and
Fair
up front,
enough.
up front is Kane more due to necessity. I think it's way too bold at this point to start like a Calvert-Lewin who's played literally 1 minute.
And
or
he's
like
the
a
only
Rashford
other
up
player.
front.
He's the only other player. I mean, him and Rashford. And Rashford's really not a centre forward.
Exactly.
Yet.
With your Germany front line though, I would have gone with, so mine was Gnabry on the right, Havertz up front and Müller on the left. And my logic is, I think Germany's issue has been fulfilling an out-and-out number 9. Whereas when you've got Havertz and Müller, who are effectively half nines, my logic would be to start Havertz up front, take the attention all off Müller, who can then find space in his round-oriented roles, and you've still got Gnabry in there for pace. That's the thing with you've started Werner for pace, but you've got Gnabry, who's also just as quick. I think we also stretched the back.
I think they play different roles in the sense that Gnabry can come along with Kimmich, who is at the right wing, and they can play a bit more pass and movie. They can have 2 men overloading that right wing. Whereas with Werner is that if he comes in, he can really, attract like 2, maybe even 3 defenders, 2 defenders and 1 midfielder that'll be watching for him, which will allow Robin Gosens like the freedom to like just bomb past him. They both bring the fullbacks into the game a little bit, but both of them also have the ability to go out wide and put in that cross. I think the biggest other problem is that Kevin Volland is injured, and I don't think he'll be available for selection. So Muller coming in as your only centre forward backup in case anything happens is the dice Lowe's gonna have to roll.
Interesting, fair enough. Okay, shall we? As a final note, then, who do you think is going to win and why?
I'm honestly gonna give this one to England. I'm going to give it to England as either a 1-0 win in regular time or a 2-1 win in extra time.
Yeah, I'm actually also back in England, and it's interesting because I think in Germany, from what I've heard, is they're calling England like easy work, like they think this is going to be an easy match, and they hate Southgate because of what he's done with Sancho, which can't blame them. But also in England over here, the mood is quite dour. Actually, a lot of people think Germany are going to win.
Oh, are there no xenophobic headlines arcing back to World War One?
No, I've not looked at the Daily Mail or anything, but from the people I've spoken to who are generally back England all the way, it's a lot more Germany. I think, as I outlined earlier, I think England are way more organised, and in a similar way to what we saw with the Netherlands today. I know Germany played Portugal and France, and France they lost to. Portugal, in fairness, I didn't get to watch it. But against Hungary, I think that told all the story. If you come with a proper plan to exploit them, you can easily do it. And Lowe is not a manager who's as screwed on as he was. Because against Hungary, sorry to waffle on, but against Hungary, all they did was wait for Kimmich and Gosens to push up, won the ball, targeted straight down the wings, and for 75 minutes, Germany did nothing to stop it. Absolutely nothing.
That is
true. The only reason Germany won in the end is because Hungary decided to protect their lead, and it wasn't necessarily like a tactical switch. So I back Southgate over Lowe, and for that reason, I back England over Germany.
I think whoever scores the first goal will have to shithouse this game to the max extent. Like ration out whoever gets a yellow card one after the other. And I think England have a bit of an upper hand because, as blameless as Tyrone Mings was, having Harry Maguire on the side makes a difference. It definitely makes a difference, especially in terms of passing the ball out from the back. I don't like these centre-backs who dribble the ball up. Because especially with England, they're very likely to lose the ball. They're more likely to lose the ball than they aren't. And I feel like that's true of John Stones. And if you're playing a back 3, I feel like Maguire's passing, especially from, the left centre-back position, will be crucial. Especially if Henderson is there. Because he can get that ball, turn the shoulder, and pass it forward to, I don't know, either a Rashford, a Sterling, or a Kane. That's if Kane isn't playing in midfield. I think that'll also be a big decision. I think if Kane has a bad game today, it's not gonna bode well. I mean, on Tuesday, not today, because if Kane has a bad game and England lose, I think the goodwill he's had is now going to start to disappear. And I don't want to see that happen to another England player.
Alright, well, as my final score prediction, and I'm going to go 1-0 England, similar to you. I think we're both going to be proven right here. But that'll be the end of today's show. We will see you again soon, probably in time for the quarterfinals, maybe an England reaction. We will see. Thank you very much for listening, and come on, England!